Let's call this meeting to order, please. Cell phones off or on silent. Roll call.
Baker,
Yes.
Bertel,
Here.
Keeler,
Here.
Cramblett, Fitzgerald, Herrick.
Here.
Please stand for the prayer. Let us pray, Lord, and we serve people in public office, and have your blessing and guidance in our deliberations and decisions, so that what we accomplish in this evening will be just and beneficial to the people we serve. Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Reading and approval of minutes. Yes, Jody?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes from 3/9/21.
Second. Jack?
Second.
Okay, Bertel,
Yes.
Keeler,
Yes.
Cramblett, Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Herrick,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Any of mine? All right, any petitions, any communications? Okay,
Any what?
petitions and communications.
Oh, sorry.
So you're hearing aid back.
Battery must be dead.
All right, I got a few things here, and there was a little misunderstanding. You guys might have heard that Easter egg hunt was going to go up to the KSC. It straightened back out. It's going to be back at Aracoma Park. It was just a little misunderstanding, and Bob talked to people in charge up there, and on April 3rd, the Easter egg hunt will be back up the park. And on that, just a little thing, it's outside our city village limits, but everybody heard about the tunnel down on Cool Springs. It's getting flooded, and a lot of complaints, and our departments usually will go down there and stuff. They started working on that today, which the guy down there told me that they're not leaving until they get it fixed. And we have a couple people who are on the trustee, Timmy and Wayne. And Timmy did a lot getting this done, and Wayne and Scott Fabian were in on that. And they're like our neighbors down there. And we did a lot of things to try to get the people taken care of. And on the brighter side of things, I'd like to tonight get the council's approval on, I'm going to recommend and appoint Mr. Willie McKenzie as our permanent chief. And I would like to have council confirm if they would. And yes, that's it.
Make a motion.
Whichever.
Confirm here.
Mr. Harry confirmed, made a motion, Mr. Bertel second. Have a vote, please.
Keeler,
Yes.
Cramblett, Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Herrick,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Bertel.
Yes.
And I'd like to make a little comment here. Willie, I've known him since he hired. He's been working hard, and Dave Andriano here, Coleman. I talked to the police department. We got a young police department. Fully exciting. He's learning. He's anxious, and his department is behind him. It's a good thing. Now, as council, council behind it, the citizens of Mingo. All I've been getting is compliments on our police department, plus fire and EMT service, Brandon, and our service department. But I think Willie will do a good job, and like I say, he's out there willing to learn. He's asking questions. We've talked numerous times where he can go to, and I'm sure every other city, village, township, or whoever, all their law enforcement will, will answer any questions that he has. And like I say, at this time, I want to congratulate Willie. Come here, Willie. So, congratulations. I know you'll do a good job. All right, got anything to say?
Thank you, everyone. I truly appreciate it. I love it here and look forward to continuing with that.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay. With that, and the swearing in will be April 3rd at 1 o'clock here in the city building. It's a Saturday on April 3rd. Okay. And with that, I'll hand it over to the village administrator.
I think everybody got a copy of my minutes. The underground storage tank, still up in the air a little bit. I talked to Mike Paprocki today from DHJ, and he was talking to me, telling me that since we own it, we can't get really any of the diesel funds. He kept referring to like diesel funds to do some of the preliminary cores. So we're going to get it done. We're going to have some cores taken. I may, if that money that we're getting is coming down for infrastructure, if we can use part of that money to do that, I'm going to do it. But like I said before, we're not even sure if there's a leak there. I'm praying that when we do the core sampling, if they come up negative, then it's going to be much less of a task to get that tank out of the ground. So that's where we're at with that. Of course, they're working on the pool, getting it cleaned up for opening day. I just talked about the stimulus money that we're getting. I will find out and find good definitions on exactly what it can be used for. Start to plan on asphalting the roads and chip and seal. What I really plan on doing is, we're doing our storm sewer separation, and they're putting that 9-inch concrete cap and then they're asphalting over it. Those roads are going to be kind of ugly and kind of bad. So a lot of that I'm going to try to look at to see if I can just put a 2-inch layover on it to make sure that, it looks nice and it's a good traveling road, because, just doing what they're doing right now is just not the greatest. So we'll work on that. Met with Scott Wejack on that property down there, and we do have some leads, so I'm going to leave it at, because last time I think we got jinxed. But we're looking at a few people to come in down there. Hopefully we can, it'll follow through this time. Like I said, I don't want to say too much, because last time we did that, we thought we had a gas station, and then we thought we had everything signed, dotted our I's and crossed our T's, and then they pulled out and went to Steubenville. So, working with them very closely. I talked to you folks about the additional loan. I'm not going to apply for it. Well, we're going to have the first reading of the ordinance here, just in case, but I'm not really going to apply for it, because it would make us go and get requalified. And if we go and get requalified, I think they're going to force my hand to raise the rates in the sewage, and I refuse to do that. So right now we're going to, like I said, read the ordinance once. We'll at least have them in our back pocket. I'm hoping if I do have any cost overrun on this project, that I can use the funds that we're getting for this COVID relief plan. So working with Raindrop, those are the folks with the splash pad. I think that they're going to start working on that probably the 3rd week of April or the last week of April. We already have a $2,500 credit to them, so this is a $5,200 bill, which will be about $2,700. And they're guaranteeing me that this will be back up and running like brand new. And that's what we need. What they did to that poor splash pad up there is a travesty, honestly. I don't know what they spent on it, 200,000, Jack, what was it, somewhere in that area, 190, 200,000, it was something outrageous. And it was probably a state-of-the-art splash pad, in this valley.
Over 300, wasn't it?
I
It was
don't,
360.
I don't even remember.
363?
Before my time, I don't even remember. But I
Yeah.
just-
Back
What
when we had
they did to it was just kind of uncalled for. They should have put the money back into it when they had some problems. It's not the way you handle it, so we are going to get it back up and running the way it should. And it won't be running 24/7. The eyes will work, everything will work. So I think it's well worth the investment. The present phones, remember we talked about caller ID. They can't do it with these phones. But I talked to World Radio. They're going to come down and take a look and see if they can put new phones in. And they're just going to give me a budget number. You know, I'm not going to run out and spend a bunch of money if it's outrageous. I just don't want to do it. So, but at least they'll give me a budget number to let me know if I even want to entertain that. I just think there's anything else. Yeah, we have, like I said, a few ordinances that I have to get passed. The one ordinance will be for your salt. I actually purchased another 100 tons of salt at $68 a ton. Yeah, and I will have that stored up there. We probably got close to 450 tons, maybe a little more. At $68 a ton, I think we're not going to meet that. So I put 400 ton on reserve for next year. I remember paying $109 the year before that per ton. So hopefully we'll be okay. It's a crapshoot a little bit. It's a guessing game. You just never know, what kind of winter we're going to have. But right now we're pretty well, stocked up there. I got a report here for the water. 851 meters have been put in. We got 50 left. We're going to order 300 more. If this COVID lets up a little bit, I told Wayne that I'd like to see, at least 300 put in by July, if at all possible. So we'll be up around the 1,100 mark as far as, getting these remote reads. We have about 1,400 or 1,500 customers. So the problem with, as far as estimating and all this will go away real soon, because we will be able to read every month. And I have people coming to me saying, Bob, my bill comes at different times. It's 3 days here, 3 days. Come on, folks. I'm sorry, you get a bill every month, you get a bill every month from everybody else, and sometimes it's not our fault. Most of the time it's not our fault, because it's the mail's fault. Some folks didn't even get their bill that 1 month, and they try to blame it on us. It was not us. We got it to the postal service, they didn't get it out. Manual reading is going on at this time. As I told you, we're going to get very aggressive with shut-offs. We're going to be putting the 10-day notices out here real soon, beginning tomorrow, he says, so that's tomorrow. We had a few leaks. Aqualine came in and detected a leak on 151. There was a small leak on Cemetery Lane. And with this construction going on, we're going to have some leaks with them pounding around like they're doing right now. Plus the heating and the cooling of the ground at this point in time. We're going to have some issues with that. But they're on top of it. They continue to repair the leaks. He met with you with the fire hydrant for I'm starting to talk like Biden here. Hold on. He met with the chief about the flushing of the fire hydrants.
Yeah.
He met with you, right?
Right.
Okay. You don't have to write this down, but the evening of April 9th will be the first session. That's going to be the Deandale and George's Run area. And then they'll go from there. They're going to eliminate the broken hydrants on Broadway. They're going to install a new one out there, actually by 151 where that old barber shop was at. Be easier to get to, easier to see. JSW now, they're up and running. A little bit, I don't know what they're pushing now, but they're up to 100,000 gallons a day of water usage. And, we really like that. The dehumidifier's been installed. There's a few ductwork related punch list items that they have to rectify. They're going to put a pressure reducing valve at Legion Drive. And last week, they installed a new meter at that Georgia Run sewage lift plant. So that's been put in. So
What was the date you gave for Deandale 151?
9 April. So we will start to do the flushing.
I'm assuming like every 6 months.
6 months to a year, depending on our personnel, what we have. I can't say enough about our departments, our sewage treatment with Cal, with the service department, with Vinny and Wayne and George and all those guys. Like I said, we got some of the best workers around, guys. They do a good job.
Hey, Bob,
You know, I get along with them all the
you
time.
still doing it at night?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Bob. With that, Cal, give me your report, please.
I just have one thing. This is the EPA report after the oil spill. They came in and evaluated the plant. And then came back a second time and evaluated the plant, made sure everything was okay.
Kyle, you can extra copy, please.
On the on the second page, that is really on.
I commend the quick action by the village of Catherine move the bulk and get home migrated to the wastewater treatment plant from the collection system. Would you want that?
So the EPA basically said, we did a fantastic job. We'll get rid of the oil as quick as we can, and getting the plant back up and running, and meet permit. There's a lot more in here, but that's the part I like to read.
Absolutely, did fabulous job, Kyle, all the documentation, I mean, it was just great.
That's all I have. And you did mention the stations, town
Yep.
meters and all that.
It's brand new, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Huggins, you have
Thanks,
it.
Kyle.
Passing around, Bud, those ordinances need to be signed to stop at Jack at Park. The copies of the budget and here. And then also some of the minutes, I think that we're working on that. And then, here's what came from I'll give you one.
Are you working on close today?
Yeah, actually, I did.
One of the plumbing.
I dressed on this at campfire. There's a paper right inside the budgets. Income tax for March will not be posted until the end of March, so we do not have an accurate number for that revenue amount yet. On the expenditure side, anything that's 75% or above is on target. Anything lower than that takes the chance to go over budget unless the line items are already paid for the year or half year. Wages are all look good except for the following departments. You see those two. And of course, the pension and FICA line items for these are also overrunning. So we may end up having to take a look at this. Brandon, you know more about these than any of us, but you're there, so you may have to start seeing if there's anything you can do to chop down or not use as many hours or people.
You got one, didn't you, Brandon?
What is it?
The quarterly payroll for part-timers and stuff.
Yeah, I have a copy.
You got a copy of budget? You want one?
Yeah. Yeah, I just got it. The only thing I have to say, and I talked to him a little bit, is, we budgeted my quarterlies for XYZ. Well, it's a good problem to have, and it's not a good problem to have. The problem is, last year, we didn't have anybody. Nobody coming out, nobody working, things like that. Now I have people, and it's costing money. The quarterly went from middle of December to this past weekend. There was 814 hours, quarterly hours for the part-timers coming out. So that was over about 7.5 days in length. I had structure fires, cardiac arrests, things like that. So, we didn't have anybody, it wasn't costing anything. He was coming out on calls, it's costing.
Can you not schedule your part-timers? As far as even on calls or anything like that? I know in an emergency, it's probably pretty difficult to schedule anyway, I understand that.
Correct. So they don't get a minimum call out, they get hour for hour. So you figure I had 3 structure fires, you figure 8 to 10 hours, 15, 16 people. Cardiac arrests, 6, 7, 8 people coming out.
Part-timers
Yeah.
for cardiac arrest? I mean, I'm just asking questions. What are they, as a part-timer, what are they doing as far as cardiac arrest?
CPR.
6 or 7 of them?
We usually take 5 to the hospital.
Once they come out, say you get somebody come out on call, and you see it isn't as bad as it is, do you send these people, we don't need you, or are they on a call out where you gotta pay them automatically 2 hours?
No, they're not automatic, so they usually get an hour, they come out, they get an hour. So if they're not needed to go to the hospital, they come back here and cover the firehouse. If we have a second call, structure fire, anything else, they're here. So the town's always protected. So if we have a cardiac arrest, and let's say I get 7 people, and I don't need 2 of them to go, 2 have to come back here till we get back to, they help us clean up, wash the ambulance, things like that. So they get an hour.
So what you're telling me is, once you get a call out, there's not 2 people coming here to cover the station. They're with you, so the station is unattended at that time.
Right now, there's 2 people upstairs. We have a call, they go. Let's say it's a cardiac arrest. It's coded as a cardiac arrest, so off-duty people go to the scene. If they're not needed, they come back here. Or if we have a second call in a matter of 2 minutes, I reroute 2 people, whatever, to here. So.
And I asked Brandon today, and a lot of the calls are up to high rise, or calls that maybe you're not even, they're just calling you because they want to call you. There's nothing we can do about that. It's just a place you have to go. If you say we're not going to go, that's when the trouble starts. A lot of calls, every 5 minutes, it seems like you guys are going up there. And their calls are, some of them are ridiculous to me, right?
It's a give and take, yeah.
Yeah.
But the only thing is that we don't deny it. You can't deny it.
No. But you have a following one there. I know you're going up there at least 5 times a day.
We're busy.
Yeah.
I could say, and I know every year the calls go up, and it's statistically it happens. Every year it goes up. Last year was our busiest year, and so far to date, we've already surpassed call-wise last year's call. So we are ahead of last year than what we should be. But in the same sense, when it comes to the money aspect of things, so far Kim hasn't got this month's check coming in for end of March's money so far for April, but because I turn that in the first of each month, so I write her a check. So MCA, as of today, we brought in $50,276.03. According to MCA, that's what we have so far. So,
Please turn your phone off.
Hey, you get old, you'll have this problem.
Brandon, let me ask, because I don't understand something here. So like today, it's a weekday, right? Let's say you got 2 guys over there, there's you and somebody. Okay, then you get a call, like for, what happened yesterday, that a kid got caught stuck in a car or something. So you two guys are going out there, right? Are you taking a policeman out there, who was on duty too?
When the cops got dispatched, they called for us because the kid was, a 1-year-old was in the house, locked in, he was locked in the house. Parent couldn't get to the child. Correct. So,
So you two guys go,
correct,
and the police officer goes.
correct.
So then you have to call in somebody to come to the station to watch?
Yeah, because there's, whoever's on scene, I can reroute people.
I'm saying, how are so many people getting on a call? You guys got scanners, everybody's listening, and everybody just shoots over to the police, or?
Everybody has a 911 pager, so it's paged out. So,
But you don't say, okay, we don't need 3 of you guys.
I don't really know who's coming.
Yeah.
So, some calls I get more than others. Really, the understanding is, if the 2 fire trucks gotta go out the door, as a generalized call, if those 2 trucks gotta go out the door, we need as much people as possible. If it's a squad call, the duty crew goes, if they get on scene, they need help, they go on the radio, they tone to have it retoned out, need help on scene. But structure fire, car accident, unresponsive, overdose, cardiac arrest, flying somebody, those are all calls. That's open to anybody to come out without me having to call for extra help.
Do you set a number on that? Because that could seem like a little bit of overkill if you got 13 guys out on it.
It's really hard to judge at 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm getting out of bed for a structure fire. I can't.
I'm not talking about fires, I'm talking about calls for like up here and like that, the situation.
They don't come out for, like the kid, the reason why the 2 come out today, Aaron Dickey and John Wright come out, little John Wright come out, because the engine was going out the door. You have a kid trapped in the house. So, they come out.
Were there charges found?
I think it was an accident from my
No,
understanding.
it was an accident. The parents were going out to get something out of the vehicle and the door got shut and the kid got shut.
But it's a give. I guess it's a give and take. I guess I have an app that I'm starting to use a little bit. I can kind of manage a little bit, but it's based off cell base, so I kind of know who's around, who's not around. But it's hard. I guess the problem is we didn't have anybody. Now I have people, but it all depends on the biggest hours on part-time wise, coming out wise, is my people who live in town. My 6 dedicated people who live in town are the ones coming out.
As far as paramedics, how many part-time paramedics do we have? I mean, they come out.
Who live in town,
They don't have to live in town, just talking about helping you out as a part-time paramedic.
Erin is a medic, Heather's in advance, which is in between, so she can be ALS. Mike Freeman leaves the college when he's not doing anything up to college because he's the program director up there. He's come out a couple times for me. Ray Hall when he's not driving. Sean Humpy lives in town on Carter Street when he's not working on the weekend, he comes out. So I'm getting more of a ALS response, but
And I want to make it clear, we're grateful to have these folks. There's no 2 ways about it. We just got to watch the cost at times, and that's what's difficult on your part. I understand that.
The more bad call, and it's not, the average calls are around the same. We usually have about 300 in a quarterly, roughly. But I would say the acuity of the call, the severity of the calls are getting worse. We're flying more people. So it's not only the duty crew going on the call, you have to page out extra people to bring a fire truck to the landing zone. Unfortunately, we're having more cardiac arrests. We've had people get struck by vehicles so far this year. That requires more people. And it just seems like we go on one call, 2 minutes later we have a second call. So that's 2 people coming out to take the other ambulance to cover the other call.
So how are the mutual aid calls going?
For us,
Yeah.
taking mutual aid,
Yeah.
we do take mutual aid calls. In the daytime, there's 3 on daylight. The full-timers run 12-hour turns, 7A, 7P. I work Monday through Friday, 7 to 3 now, for me. And there's me, full-timer, because they're on 12s, and a part-timer. So during the daytime, if we take a mutual aid call, I'm here covering the town. They take the mutual aid call. If we have a second call, I go on the second call.
Now, do you turn down a mutual aid call?
I have not, because we make money off that.
Explain that to people who are understanding. We're making money off that. But you were losing money off that too by a bunch of people coming out,
Well,
right?
nobody's coming out on daylight for mutual aid calls. Before it was, because it was just like John and a part-timer. Full-timer or a part-timer had to come in while they took the call. Nobody has to come in on daylight because I'm already here. The duty crew's going, I'm already here. So we're making the billing money off that.
So what you're telling me, you're only going on mutual calls during daylight?
On after hours, I come in. That's one of the, it does charge me 2 hours overtime. That's why I'm on
Okay, let me
this.
ask you, why are you coming in on afternoon or night turn? Don't you have people here who,
But they can't, if I send a duty crew, there's nobody covering Mingo.
there's nobody besides you who come in?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But I know if I call in, say, go take the mutual aid call, patient's getting taken care of, and we're billing.
Because I'm seeing here that we are 3 times over from last year this quarter
Correct.
on wages.
Because last year we had no part-timers answering call-outs. And also, we didn't fill a lot of the part-time schedule as well.
Well, don't get me wrong, I understand all this, here we got more people. But now we got the same amount of money that we had last year, and more people coming out. So this way, this money's going faster, we're gonna run out of money faster. So, I mean, just the bottom line, we gotta start watching our spending.
I mean, that's why I'm bringing it, what do you guys want to do?
No, that's not what we wanna do. You are the fire chief. You are to watch your budget.
Let me ask you a question. I had, like with my company, we do tree trimming, keep power on, because the more you're out of power, less revenue you're generating because we're trying to fix your problem. And you're only out so many feet. But we also track what's called our worst performing circuits. So we have a 3 to 5 year time as far as trimming trees. You're only allowed 15 feet on both sides of the pole. These people live in like OB and places like that, they're out all the time because they live in a goddamn forest. And there's nothing but trees all over the place. So, but they're one of the worst performing circuits, so what we do is we track that. So if you weren't scheduled to be done for 2 years, and you're one of the worst performing circuits, we'll bump you up, because it's costing us tons of money in revenue from you not being on. My question is, if you're having a lot of problems in one particular area, like you are up here at the apartment building, is there any way, or would anybody thought of maybe, Stimple did this a few years ago, they were having a lot of problems up in Bellevue, and they put a satellite station right there by Maryland Market on the corner. Is there any way to set up some kind of satellite thing? If you know you're gonna have problems there all the time, if you had somebody stationed there,
It's gonna cost money.
well, that's what I'm asking, I don't know what all that would entail, and would that be good or not good?
It's gonna cost you a lot of money, because you're gonna pay someone to sit there all the time, plus the duty people.
Well, I mean, we're paying everybody to sit down here right now, so, right, during the day? How many people are on during the day? Or you can't take one of those guys and
3 of them, right?
I mean, are you getting as much play up there as you think you are, or?
The problem is that when they call, they want to go to the hospital. I can tell you what they want.
They want to get out of their apartments, they want to ride.
They want to go to the hospital.
Jody, do you have something?
I did, I believe, Brandon, you said MCA so far we're at 527603 is what's been billed, and that's what, from the end of like December through
Middle of
current?
December, yeah.
So basically, we're on track to make somewhere around 150, where we usually count on 110. I'm not sure how much we're over exactly as far as quarterly wages go, but it seems to me that.
The only thing that's gonna set me over is quarterlies. That's the part-time quarterlies, them coming out to help. That's what would set me over. Because we already factored in every turn, we factored in everything else. It's the quarterlies is what's hitting me right now. I went off of last year's quarterly amount, because that's what I had to go off of. From last year's budget, as far as what I have paperwork in my office. You know, the calls are increasing, the acuity of the call is increasing. So,
Now, let me ask you one question. This is a thing that maybe down the road you're gonna have to do is, yours daylight guy, 7 to 3. Why couldn't you just be the other full-timer on, with the full-timer on daylight instead of a part-timer?
because we would cut all mutual aid altogether. I'm the only one who would call in. my full-timers don't really live here.
I mean, there's times where we're gonna have to cut mutual aid off, right? I mean, I'm just looking out for the budget. I mean, these are the ones you're gonna have to answer to. I mean, I'm answering to. They're gonna come to me, and then they're gonna wonder why we're going over budget. And, these are just questions, you know, you're probably gonna be asked down the road. And-
I mean, if they feel that they want me to cut 10 shifts out of a part-timer, I'll do it. I mean, but I'm trying to take the mutual aid.
But as
Get
a
mutual
department head, I mean, you are responsible for the budget, to keep your budget intact. He'll be in charge of his budget, he's in charge of his budget here, of the service department, Wayne's in charge, I mean, that's just the thing, then it comes back to, we don't have the money, we don't have the money. And these people come into me and say, what are we gonna do? And my last thing ever would be to lay off people. I never wanna do that. You know, where are we gonna get the money from? Where are we gonna get the money from?
I mean, the biggest thing is I'll cut the part-timers from coming out. That's what's hit me the most, I'll cut it out.
Hey Chief, remember that day I asked you one council meeting, that was I was referring on how many people coming on each call.
I mean, it's.
Because here's the thing,
it's
because
hard.
they know they're gonna get a 2-hour call, correct?
They get an hour for hour.
And that's what I'm saying, so when dispatch goes through your comm there, they're listening to it, so they run to it too, even though there's already 4 guys heading there, right?
After 3 o'clock, there's only 2. And that's the problem. If I have 2 females working, we go to Indian Village, somebody's 500 pounds, it's automatic calling for help. Do I rather pay the $13.10 an hour or the $29 an hour overtime for the full-timer now? That's
So I
where
think that's what the mayor's trying to figure out why, and Bobby brought, why do we need sometimes 10
I
paramedics
know
on
it's
scene?
difficult. You know, they're gonna try to be out there, I mean, you know, I don't wanna discourage these kids at all,
Right.
because,
Depending on the call.
The biggest thing is I don't know who's coming. That's
Yeah.
the problem. But, you know, that cardiac arrest down from your house. From the time I leave my house, to the time I get on scene, I know that JCOM knows the ambulance is en route, I'm en route. I don't know until I physically walk in that yard or that house and see who's there, or see the vehicles. That's the hardest thing. I guess the issue is I was going on cardiac arrests and I didn't have anybody. I always had to wait 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes sometimes for people to get to me, to help me. Now the problem is I have too many people, I guess.
Well, I don't want to be in your shoes because you're going to say, I don't need you, I don't need you, I don't need you, go home. Then after your attitude's going to go down. You know,
And that's what I don't want.
That's right, exactly, I don't want that either.
And it's very sporadic. It's,
You set up a rotation? I mean,
Yeah,
if you got
that's
10
what I'm
guys,
saying.
1
I was
through
gonna
10,
say,
then
can
next
you
time, you
on
can
call?
set up
well,
anything.
On call?
you don't know that because everybody else had, all the part-timers have other jobs.
Well, I know, but I understand that.
Availability.
Can you narrow that down at all with that, with those part-timers? I mean, most people don't work nights, well, I mean, they could be working nights, probably most people work during the day. It's just something to look at, that's all. I know it's difficult, like I said, I don't want to discourage these folks from coming out, but, you know, we've got to cut somewhere, you know, we've got to at least try to cut a little bit. Like I said, I don't want to discourage any of these
And
kids.
the bad part about it is if I have 10 structure fires in the next month, it just blows it all out. I don't know the calls that I'm getting. That's the problem.
Do your best.
Yeah, that's all,
Yeah.
that's all we're asking, Brandon.
You know, 'cause, you know, it's gonna come down to where whoever meets the road here with no money, you know, I'm gonna have to really do something about it, just so.
I mean, that's what I'm asking for advice from you guys. You want me to cut a turn? Do you want me to cut personnel? Do you want me to cut mutual aid off?
I'm not really telling you what to do right now. I mean, it's.
I mean, I want to start early because at the end of the year, I don't want to be in the predicament to where we're always over budget.
Well, do you get a printout every pay period?
Yeah, I see Kim gives me a,
Right.
but I don't want to.
know, and I gotta ask Jack, I mean, I know you bring in a lot of money, it says you're bringing in a lot, but Jack, do you do this? Or you bring in some amount of money, I know we don't do it, well, so we could spend this amount of money.
Well, one of the things you run into, say you budget under your EMS $50,000 or $100,000 for the year. You never go back and revise that until the end of the year. So if you bring in 150 or 160 or 170, that never gets thrown back into that budget until you adjust at the end of the year. So a lot of times you're going to appear to be over the budget, but your revenue is also will have increased to cover that. So, you've got to take that into account. That you may not have, you may not actually have, you may not have spent more than you brought in.
Plus, you may have some other line items that you haven't spent yet that can be used.
That's possible also. And that happens a lot in fire just because of the way it's paid. It happens a lot in the service also. That, you may take the money out of the street repair or street maintenance fund, and maybe, that fund gets used up, but now down the road, you've got another fund that you haven't really used just because that's just the accounting structure. You don't break down every minute that everybody works.
I mean, it just feels like sometimes my hands are tied because do I cut a service or not? The problem is when I took over, we didn't have people. Now I have people, the calls are getting worse, increasing.
Here's the thing, Brad, this is my personal thing, I'm not speaking for none. I like the service. I like the service. I know it's all about dollars and cents too, but for me, I don't want your department cut, I don't want his department cut, I don't want his department cut. I mean, we're bare minimum now, but you're getting people out, which is a great thing here. And it's just a question that I'm asking you, I'll ask him, and when it comes down there, if it comes down, we'll just ask questions. And just to have some answers, they come up.
I mean,
but you got these people who are going to ask, they're the ones who budget.
I mean, the only way I can make money, and I have to look at it as a business aspect, my employees look at it as they're providing a service, which we are providing a service. I also have to look at it as a business aspect on the money aspect of things. The only way I really know how to make money without asking for a levy or anything like that is to take mutual aid, because we make money off of that. So, and that's one of the things in the contract I ask for salary, so I can come out as much as I want, cover as much as I want, and it's not costing because it's already built into my salary. But we can take all that in and get that into the 32 fund, which is all the part-timers. Because all the billing goes into the part-timers. It don't go for full-time. So the full-timers are paid off of the taxpayer itself out of the our fund. All part-timers, anything with the ambulances, part-timers quarterly is all paid off of EMS billing. So the more billing I get, the more money we get.
But you know how many times I ride through town, and I look over there, and you got people over, you took the trucks out and everything. That's a nice thing.
And I don't pay the people, if only two people get paid to be on duty. So if you anybody drives by and you see 7, 8, 10 people outside, they're not getting paid.
Oh, no, I know their guys are saying.
I just wanted to let everybody, they're not getting paid. The only time they get paid is if we have a call and they're needed.
Okay.
So-
So back to you. Just be ready to answer some questions. Yeah, you got anything else?
No, I don't think so. I got some other resolutions I think that I'll have to have everybody sign. We can get that later.
All right. Ernie, do you have anything?
No, I don't have anything right now.
Mr. McKenna, do you have anything?
Oh, yeah, just a little update on the department. As of right now, we have
Or should I call you chief?
we have 617 calls this far, 29 citations, 34 physical arrests. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Make it short and sweet. Now I gotta go back to Brandon.
I have a question for Will.
Go ahead.
Chief, I noticed a police officer was parked across the street on Park, and we were all hoping that it was because of the stop sign on St. Clair. So are you starting to give out tickets, stopping people? Because he wasn't there long, and but we were thinking maybe that's why he was there. Was that possibly why?
Yes, ma'am. He was running traffic enforcement. This is actually Patrolman Adrian. He writes a lot of citations.
Yeah.
He's the one.
Because there's always cars coming down there, not stopping at all. If you were there long enough to write tickets, thank you.
I was going to.
Okay.
We had something going on at the Legion Ball Field.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just to speak for them. I mean, they're supposed to go everywhere.
Oh,
Right
I
now, we spend all day there.
I understand that, but
That's, I mean.
we just noticed that there was a cop sitting up on the park right by,
Where I go, I see how they, I see,
We were like, oh,
sometimes I
happy.
think they're after me, because everywhere I go, they're fine.
Yeah.
We're watching you. Okay, Brandon, you're up. Again.
Well, we're gonna talk about, that's what I was gonna talk about the quarterlies, but,
Okay.
you know, I wanna have a committee together just for the fire department, so we can, every month or every other month, you know, look at this, so it's not a hassle at the end of the year. Because I don't wanna be the one to have to make the determination if I'm gonna cut a turn, cut this, or cut that. I think it needs to be a group effort. I don't want my head on the chopping block at the end of the year.
You know what might be a good idea also, get together with the part-timers and explain to them, hey, this is what we're running up against, you know, so that they know that something could be coming down or whatever. Else they might tell you, hey, I don't have to come out this many times, or whatever, you know, you might get some cooperation there.
And I think a lot of it, if I did, some part-timers moved out of town, so, you know, I could probably take 150, 200 hours off of that. You know, Mike Allen came out a lot as a part-timer. He's full-time now. You know, somebody else lived in town, moved to Toronto, so works here part-time. They don't come out as much as they did. So we're, you know, I think that we'll get a next quarter, we'll probably see it's gonna be, I would say, lower than this one.
But in a way, this is a good thing. I mean, it's bad because, but it's a good thing. You know, don't get discouraged. I don't want the part-timers getting discouraged. It's really a good thing.
That's what we wanted. We wanted participation.
Yeah.
We wanted to see the guys get involved. I mean, it's a good problem. But like Ernie said, I mean, payroll goes up by 30%, but then our revenue goes up by 30%. I mean, it might, in the end, it all might just work out, but it's something we need to keep an eye on throughout the year.
The one thing I wanted to ask was, on your quarterlies, like training, I would imagine that takes,
Well, this one, they did have that hazmat tech on that. I already told them guys the other day, I'm not paying, I will pay for the training itself, because everybody attends. I will not pay for them to take it if they're part-time. So that's also going to take a factor in that as well.
that would be nice, that'll cut some of those hours
It
out.
will cut. So, another thing too is I have a lot of training scheduled. Full-time wise, I make it mandatory. So I ask some suggestions. If you want me to make it mandatory, if we make it mandatory, we gotta pay it. If I don't make it mandatory, some of my full-timers are not coming. So that's, you know, like, I'm getting grant money to pay for specialized training for the equipment we have on trucks. And all my full-timers are all new personnel for the last 2 years or less. You know, do we want to make it just optional, or do we want to make it mandatory? But if we make it mandatory, I have to pay the overtime out. And that also hits my I'm going to be within budget on my full-time wise, because hopefully we're making these salaries, so that's going to, you know, when I was full-time before, me, Ray Hall, and John, we were expected out, we were out, we had a lot of overtime. I have a full-timer that lives in Unionport, I got a full-timer that lives on the other side of Wintersville, and I got a full-timer who lives in town, but has other obligations and other things like that. So really, the only overtime, a lot coming out is me. And we're gonna take care of that. But, you know, any suggestions on the training wise? You know, I probably got a good 60 to 70 hours of overtime.
Wait, training, that's totally, I mean, training is the best thing. I mean, there's never enough training. And, you know, if that's out there, I mean, there's always something you have to do. That's my personal opinion now. Mr. Burtell, you're the next chief. Do you have any?
I'm looking at this goofy paper here. We have an EMS board?
We need to have one.
We have an EMS board, it's not on here. I mean, we got
I know
people,
I'm on it.
we got people on here that's passed.
The what?
People that's no longer with us is on here. We maybe should update this a little bit, this piece of paper we got here. Anyhow, we did EMS, I don't know the last time we changed billing or raised it. But we probably should get a hold of the guy that, well, he's gone too. You're allowed to charge so much. And the guy that used to be involved in it was ambulance service, and he knew all ins and outs. I don't know, I think we maybe get a hold of Harrington, see where we can set our rates at. We might be too low right now on our rates. I'm sure Rob knows where the high point is, we haven't changed rates for 4 or 5 years.
We're comparable to everybody in the area. MCA asked me about looking at, we'd have to do an ordinance and all that stuff to raise the rate.
Well, you know, if we're allowed by state, we should raise them.
That's, I mean,
The issue has always been Medicare.
we set it,
Medicare
Sets their,
sets there, and you have to, if you match, they only allow you to charge a certain amount. So they're only gonna pay you whatever their 80% of that amount. And that's why, that's always been part of the issue. You have to know what that number is. I agree. You know, Rob, I'm sure Rob would have a good idea. You know, and it may be time that we can, you know, increase that.
I mean, thing this weekend,
pardon?
I mean, thing this weekend.
You know, I mean, I'd ask you, and another thing, how much money would we bring in last year, this time of the year?
Nothing.
Our billing was terrible last year.
They didn't bill.
Nobody even knew.
Now we bring in almost $50,000, you know. Sure, we increase the rates a little bit on these guys working. You know, we can fight all the rates. Don't be a hunch it. Listen to me. I'm talking, yeah, you can't hear me, man. I know you can't hear me.
I can hear you. You talking to me?
I'm talking to anybody who wants to listen to me.
I'm listening to you.
We raised the rates $5 on all these guys. Now it's starting to go on launch a little bit.
It's beating the heck out of us.
Huh?
Beating us up a little bit.
Well, you're gonna pay for what you get.
I know.
You got some good people up there.
I told you, Jack.
Just don't show them.
I'm not gonna discourage anybody. I think we need them.
You definitely need paramedics.
We need paramedics.
I know one thing, you turn that air conditioner off, I'm about frozen. Jesus Christ.
I mean, like me,
Here.
it's EMS board, I have no idea, I have no papers on the EMS board. I got a paper, it was my 2011, 2012, I don't know who's on it, there's no record, there's no minutes, there's nothing.
Jack, I know you told me I was on it last year,
I
you left or something.
think, I know Mr. Wilson's on it. Mr. Huggins is on it. You, the chief, and a private citizen. And the private citizen used to be on it is Janie Kishan. And God, I don't know, when's the last time we had a meeting, you know?
I don't remember.
When I was chief, and that was 11 years ago.
And what's nice is we don't really have to have an EMS board meeting, I wouldn't think, it's
Well,
called.
yeah, the whole purpose of the EMS board, their functions are two things. Basically, to establish rates,
Yeah.
and they was made the authority to write off
When we get our
uncollectible
billing.
bills. That was really what the purpose of that board was, to review rates, make recommendations. They can't raise rates, but they can recommend rates to council. Council still has to raise the rates, but that was the function of the board.
But we probably have a lot of stuff on books that we should get rid of.
Yeah, you probably do.
MCA does a lot of that, because we don't send out the collections. We don't-
Yeah, it's not like it, I mean, again, that part's changed a lot too.
Right, when we did our own billing, we had to write it off ourselves.
Yeah,
We don't, MCA does everything now, we don't,
right.
I mean, the only thing you need is rates and,
They might be another person to call, your billing company, see what you're allowed to bill, the maximum.
That's, yeah.
Anyhow, Mayor, this thing needs,
What year do you have there?
it says 2020 to 2024.
What's wrong with that?
Well, you gotta see one.
George History, you got it.
I see one guy that's not no longer with us on here. Mike Lacy passed away 2 years ago.
No, not 2 years ago.
Huh?
Not 2 years ago.
Okay.
Who else on there?
Well, Johnny Rick's not no longer fire chief.
These were just,
Joe Sagan's no longer the chief of police.
But you're not gonna redo those every
Yeah.
6
Do
months.
them every
Well, I
two-
understand that,
every
but-
2 years.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna have people on there, but if there's a committee that the fire chief's on, it says John Wright's on it, Brandon's on it now.
I understand, but there's, the EMS board's not even on here no more.
I don't know if it ever was, was it?
I don't
Yes.
think it ever was,
Yeah,
at
really.
least not since I've been
It
here.
hasn't been on there for a while, but one time
Never
ago.
mind, never mind.
And
Go ahead.
basically, the only thing you need there is the mayor, I think it's the mayor's appointment, to appoint a private citizen to be on the board.
Yeah, you take care of that thing, will you?
Agreed to do this,
You
Jack.
have
Send
to,
him out.
you have to.
Oh, yeah, and put Mr. Baker on here in place of George.
Look at the EMS board on it, will you?
Give me the names of the,
All right, we'll do this afterwards, Jack. Thanks, Brandon.
The only thing that the water department, they would like a flow meter, they gave to me today. I think it's probably gonna get a ball, $676.
Oh, yeah. Who wants it?
Wayne and them. What about that?
Yeah,
They want that. Up on the hydrant, flow, recirculate, and then they want that.
That tells you how much water's coming out of the hydrant?
Pressure line.
Who got one?
We got a new one, a new meter.
No, this is a flow meter.
It's a flow.
Melody, but the county. You were
Yeah, this is,
talking about.
no, this is coming out of your fire, out of your hydrants. This isn't our sewage meter down there we replaced. But we do have a flow meter somewhere.
Ours is nowhere to be found.
Oh, so it's gone?
I don't know, but I bought a brand new flow meter and the wand and everything was there. It's in a big, nice big
It's
case.
gone?
Evidently maybe somebody else needed it, I don't know.
I have never seen it, and I look forward to that. I know, they went down to the water plant looking and they couldn't find it.
Another thing about these.
It had the, you screw it on the hydrant, it had different tips on it and everything else.
It's precious.
Yeah, I mean, everything was there.
Peter,
Hilo Bob was here, brand new one, we had 2 or 3 of them. I don't know, maybe they're cut 3 of them, who knows?
Okay, Brandon, anything else? Thanks.
that's all I have.
Mr. Patel, anything?
For what?
Adam, anything on ordinances?
Yeah, a bunch.
Jack, are there any ordinances over there tonight?
We've got a bunch of ordinances, guys, sure.
Got a bunch missing too.
Yeah,
All right, I got this thing here, it says resolution 2021-5, authorizing participation.
There should be, there were 4 on,
2021-6 for preliminary legislation.
right, there should be 4.
3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
COVID here.
And 3 is the one, 3 is the one, yeah.
Reason why I just thought
Yeah, but 3 is the one
I
that
think
we
it's
want
just
to
for
run.
information, who knows?
yeah, that's the life.
Free on the oriented.
The other ones, I need to have them done.
They're all for.
Yeah.
Salt needs to be
Yeah,
done.
we read 2021-3 last meeting.
There's the old one there.
No, I'm sorry, 4 is
There's one over
4 is
two
the
over
one.
there, who knows?
3 was your appropriation ordinance. I think that's
Here, you pull it.
kind of, yeah,
Give me your
Yeah,
jacket.
I think that's,
they run Tammy's desk up there, Jay.
yeah.
Yeah, I brought them down.
Okay.
3, 4, 5, 6, although I think 3, obviously, no, we read 2021-3 last meeting. It was, 6. Oh, you have a copy of it?
Yeah.
2021-3 is the solid waste authority for Jefferson Belmont Regional Solid Waste Authority. That was 2021-3, so it should be 4, 5, 6, 7 then, instead of 3, okay. So it just changed.
Change the one that marks 3 itself.
Yeah, right.
This one here, 6 have to be read. There you go. This will work on.
You need one that I don't sign?
What's that?
I don't sign none of these?
You'll sign these.
Oh, these are.
You're on out. You want to sign this, check that's it.
Someone changed the number on our
Just change the one that's
You already
3,
passed that
change
in?
the 7, and then pass it out, just let everyone change their own.
You already
changed
But if you just change the original, you can just make another copy.
Right.
64. On that.
I'm gonna use one pen.
That's a little. What's that word for?
For, I just use my pen.
Now, did you say we need to change these, Adam, the number?
Yeah, it should be
4?
2020, this should be dash 4, 2021-4.
20, the one that says 2021-3, change it to 2021-7.
Oh,
I'll change that, just put that at the end.
Yeah.
So we'll skip dash 4, we just
Yeah,
won't
that way
have
you
a
don't
4.
change them all.
okay.
And that's the one, and that would be the one that you only want to give it to you.
Okay.
This is dash 7. Ah, dash 7? This one?
3.
Sorry.
One that says 3 is actually
The
7.
one before,
2021-3 is actually 2021-7.
I just added that one.
You change it,
Yes, you said it's already changed, you changed. You can't.
Do it one at a time then. We're gonna change it to dash 7, and, on this one, Ernie, are we, a resolution authorizing the mayor to apply for a 7 enter the water pollution control?
that'll be 7, that'll be one reading,
One reading tonight? Okay.
Yeah.
until we determine what we can do with the
COVID money.
COVID money.
The infrastructure money.
Okay. These are all gonna be in different orders, but.
That's the only place it's for. It's right
What's that?
Okay.
They're good?
Just one. Do one back in 2020.
Nothing on this one, we're good. Do it again?
What number is this one? This one, right?
We'll leave it alone, yeah.
This one here is 3 or 7?
7.
First one.
The first
Number
one.
3 should change to 7, then this will be 4. So we have 7, 4, then 4, we'll have 4, 5, 6, 7 more on.
So we won't have a 3?
No.
3 was read last week.
last week.
Should be
Yeah,
yours.
I think it was one ordinance.
Who does that?
I have a number for it.
I've signed most of these.
Why do you give me some copies?
They just put them there, I don't know. You just grab them. I already signed.
Take the one that time.
You're a copy. 4 slide.
Okay.
Just keep a copy.
America's.
You need one?
Just one copy.
I'll be back. I'm gonna give you all the extras anyway.
You guys vote on that?
I'll give one of each of these.
Yeah.
One of everything.
Put 4 of them all.
Maybe much like the plane now, I don't know. Then you always can't get it. Right on the show. 4, 5, 7, 6. Right. March 2020 scratch up which one? What the hell?
So who's all on that EMS board?
You,
You, Lynn.
Jody, and
Ernie, Jody,
Chief.
And you have to appoint.
You have to appoint a private citizen. You have to appoint a private citizen. Don't go up the cemetery planning.
Dr. Johnson, he's retired.
Oh, you need to. Jeez.
When somebody comes down, is there anybody comes down the city building every day?
Yeah. So. Can't. I don't care, it's up to you guys. You guys are on a committee.
All right, copies, we should have a 2021-4, 5, 6, and 7. We changed 2021-3 to 2021-7, that was the year 7. So, 2021-4, approval and grant consent to the Director of the Ohio Department of Transportation Authority to apply, maintain, and repair standard longitudinal pavement markings and erect regulatory and warning signs on the state highways inside village corporate limits, and giving consent of the village board, the Ohio Department of Transportation to remove snow and ice and use snow and ice control material on state highways inside the village corporate limits, and giving consent of the village board, the Ohio Department of Transportation to perform maintenance and or repair on state highways inside the village corporation.
Is that one reading?
No, that keeps, 7 is one that gets one reading. The purpose of that ordinance is to allow the state to maintain route 7.
Coach, want to move the suspend rules?
I move that a rule requiring an ordinance to be read by title only on 3 separate occasions be dispensed with, an ordinance number 20214 be given a second and third reading at this time by title only and placed before this council for its final passage or rejection.
Second.
Cranwood, Fitzgerald, Merritt,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Raquel,
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes. 2021-4, approval and granting consent to the Director of the Ohio Department of Transportation Authority to apply, maintain, and repair standard longitudinal pavement markings and erect regulatory and warning signs on the state highways inside village corporation limits, and giving consent of the village for the Ohio Department of Transportation to remove snow and ice and use snow and ice control material on state highways inside the village corporate limits, and giving consent of the village for the Ohio Department of Transportation to perform maintenance and or repair on state highways inside the village corporation. Number 2, one more reading, last, third, and final reading. Approval and granting consent to the Director of the Ohio Department of Transportation Authority to apply, maintain, and repair standard longitudinal pavement markings and erect regulatory and warning signs on the state highways inside the village corporate limits, and giving consent of the village for the Department of Transportation to remove snow and ice and use snow and ice control material on state highways inside the village corporate limits, and giving consent of the village for the Ohio Department of Transportation to perform maintenance and or repair on the state highways inside the village corporation.
Yes. I move that ordinance number 2021-4 be adopted at this time.
Second. Roll call.
Fitzgerald. Merritt.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Raquel.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Cranwood.
All right, Mayor, next one for tonight, resolution 2021-5. Resolution authorizing participation in the ODOT road toll contracts awarded in 2021.
I move that a rule requiring an ordinance to be read by title only on 3 separate occasions be dispensed with. An ordinance number 2021-5 be given a second and third reading at this time by title only and placed before this council for its final passage or rejection.
Second. Roll call.
Merritt.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Raquel.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Cranwood. Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Resolution 2021-5, resolution authorizing participation in the ODOT road toll contracts awarded in 2021. Okay, third and final reading, resolution 2021-5, Resolution authorizing participation in the ODOT road salt contracts awarded in 2021.
Make a motion that 2021-5 be adopted this time.
Second.
Baker?
Yes.
Purcell?
Yes.
Mueller?
Yes.
Campbell? Fitzgerald? Parrot?
Yes.
All right, Mayor, the next one is ordinance 2021-6. Says, the following ordinance is enacted by the village of Mingo Junction, Jefferson County, Ohio, here and after referred to as the local public agency in the matter of the state's described project. Project description says, this project is located in Stigville Township within the village of Mingo Junction. The project will maintain structure JEF-7-1293, carrying State Route 7 over Township Road 167A, Cross Street, Norfolk Southern Railroad, and Clifton Street by cleaning the steel pier cap of animal waste and debris, installing animal guards to eliminate the need for further cleaning and clearing the vegetation under the structure.
I think that's enough for title. There's no real title on it.
Right, yeah, that's it, yeah. So, one reading or three for this one, Judge, is that?
I move that a rule requiring an ordinance to be read by title only on 3 separate occasions be dispensed with. In ordinance number 20216, be given a second and third reading at this time by title only, and placed before this council for its final passage or rejection.
Second.
Purcell?
Yes.
Mueller?
Yes.
Campbell? Fitzgerald? Parrot?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-6, project to maintain the structure, JEF-7-1293, carrying State Route 7 over Township Road 167A, Cross Street, Norfolk Southern Railroad, and Clifton Street by cleaning of animal waste and debris, and installing animal guards to eliminate future cleaning. Third and final reading, 2021-6. The project to maintain the structure JEF-7-1293, carrying State Route 7 over Township Road 167A, Cross Street, Norfolk Southern, and Clifton Street by cleaning the steel pier cap of animal waste and debris, and installing animal guards to eliminate the need for further cleaning and clearing the vegetation under the structure.
Good. I move that ordinance 2021-6 be adopted at this time.
Second.
Vote.
Mueller?
Yes.
Campbell? Yes. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Parrot?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Purcell?
Yes.
All right, here's the final resolution for tonight. The one everyone has, it was titled 2021-3, we turned that into 2021-7. So this will be 2021-7. A resolution authorizing the mayor of the village of Mingo Junction to apply for, accept, and enter into a water pollution control loan fund agreement on behalf of the village of Mingo Junction for construction, supplemental loan of wastewater facilities, and designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan.
Just come right to it.
Just, yes.
Nothing.
Just one
Just
reading.
do one reading, no suspension. It needs 3 readings passed, but you know what, pass it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's all for the ordinance and resolution for tonight, Mayor.
Thank you. Good job. Now, that one with the salt, it looks like it takes at least 5 signatures on it. So I would think that there's 5 councilmen that would have to sign it. The other one takes signatures.
So it should be, that you probably do as signature And,
Just two?
Yeah, add the clerk and maybe the street committee.
Yeah, well, okay, whatever, I just need signatures on it. And the other one, that cleaning that cap off and everything, that's Jag and the mayor, and you guys are not leaving until there's a time.
I've already signed them all.
You put your real name down? Sure.
All right, thank you, Adam. Mr. Eric, anything on safety?
Yeah, we had a safety meeting prior to this one here. These are some of the things that were discussed. And there is a need for homes to be torn down in this village. We want to put signs also on Longview, you know, the different signs there, the speeding and different other things that need to be done. Now, on the top of Eleanor, where Mr. Bassage's house is and Johnny Rice is there, we would like to put there's already 2 stop signs up there. We would like to put 2 more. So that's a 4-way stop area up in there. That will probably help us out as far as anything going down, flying down there through there because of the 4-way stop sign there. Curbs on Garfield Street need painting. And Bob, I don't know, I meant to ask Joe at P-Row the other day about that church up there. It is.
That's his nephew that's supposed to be taking that down. You know, I called him twice. You know, he's boarding it, I think he's boarding it up.
Yeah, he's starting to board it up, but it's, you know, you would think.
It's not like any other, it's not like any other building that boards it up. I mean, you know, they make it safe to be boarded up like our old school. I keep getting this, you know, the guy left.
Right, he did, he
Was gonna do it and they left. So they left us an eyesore there, but he boards it up and makes it safe. I don't know what we can really do about that. Is there anything that we can do?
I'm not sure you can board it up and make it safe.
Yeah.
Well, I had an attorney call me today in Columbus about that property. First thing I asked was, who owns the property? Mingo LLC. I said, okay. Who owns the property? I'm not liberty to discuss that. I said, well, the fence is down. I was like, everything's down. And I said, I need it taken care of. He goes, I said, there's no boarding up. I said, they took a lot of windows out. And I was like, well, I'm like, it needs to be taken care of. And he didn't have a nice, pleasant conversation on the phone. And I told him I wanted to take it down. He's like, well, I said, okay. So the conversation didn't go very good. And I talked to Ernie like 2 minutes afterwards. So, I don't know really who owns it. All he said was,
Shouldn't we be able to find that out by looking on the auditor's office?
Mingo LLC.
The corporation should be registered.
People live in that little town to school.
Yeah.
The behavioral.
Yeah.
They own that. It's a group, yeah.
Yeah, there's a few guys
And
involved.
I've been told the same thing, Brandon, involved in gold, it's coming down. When? Nobody could tell. So, or somebody, one person who knows the people said, it's coming down. And I asked my company,
We will try to follow up with those folks again. I don't know what else can we do with this?
Well, I mean, what we have to do is, we can say, you're right, I'm sure there's a record, the state would have to have a record of the corporation. Okay, well, necessary, I'm not sure, you definitely have an agent that you can serve, with the process, I think you serve and you cite them in court.
I mean, like I said, I know.
And I tend to agree with Brandon, I don't see how you can board that building up and make it safe.
Oh, we know what part, I'll talk to them again, and if we don't get any action, I guess that's what we do. I mean,
Yeah.
We just, you do what you gotta do. You know, and that's all we do.
My road is kidding.
Yeah.
It's getting summertime, kids are curious, kids just want to go in there and mess around.
Start fires, next thing you know, the whole thing will be on fire.
Yeah, this summer and the summer before that, we had a problem with the green church on Kirk all the way.
Yeah.
People were going and breaking in there. Who owns that? Is that? I
Church
heard,
all the way.
yeah, the old Greek church up from Palm Springs.
Oh, I know.
Well, that church there, and I've done a lot of research on that. Nobody can tell what they own. All the churches have died. It's just dead. So what do you do with the whole church? Maybe you need to pray because everybody passed away, all the trustees, everything.
The only one, and that was my next thing to bring up, about that church, we discussed that also. The only one I know is Mrs. Kirkbell. She is still living. She lives, you know where you turn up Cemetery Lane, that brick house right there? That was her husband, you know, that had that church there. Now, she may know something about it, but I don't know. And once again, we got a building sitting empty, and, you know, we're going to have to do something with that. And the last thing we discussed, at least I feel, and talking to Jody and Adam and Mark, I think, Bob, I think they're doing a pretty good job on Eleanor right now. I think they're more aware, and I've been going up and down there, and I see a lot of cars in the driveways, and I think there's only like maybe 2 or 3 that are on the road from that area down. So we're just going to wait and see a little bit and then take it from there. That's all.
I recommend that
Right.
we get the 2 stop signs put in, correct?
I said that about the stop sign. Anybody have any other questions about? Okay, I'm done there.
Okay. Jody, anything on the service?
No, but I do have a report on the safety service meeting that we had on March 16th. Mr. Herrick couldn't make it to that one, but Mark Baker was there, Kyle Moffett was there, Josh McGuire, Chief Brandon Montgomery, and myself. We were in discussions on what training was still needed. They had their closed confinement done for all village employees through the BWC last year. Cleveland State's coming in, which Brandon talked about in mid-May for the structural collapse confined space training, May 15th, 22nd, and 23rd. Roach training rescue class for confined spaces. And Brandon was also talking about the fire department needing new jaws of life that ours can't cut through some of the newer vehicles. He wants the same manufacturer as Steubenville and Brilliant, a battery-operated smaller unit. Brilliant has a bigger one, and Steubenville has an even bigger one. So no matter what situation one of the departments gets in, we can rely on the backup. We'll have access to one that will get the job done, no matter what size is needed. Kyle also needed to order a few white tie-dye suits. The equipment needed is a tripod for lowering into confined spaces. The water treatment plant does have one, but it's beat up. And the fire department doesn't really have access to the water treatment plants, and they also need an NFPA fire standard one. And the wastewater treatment plant needed a chlorine sign for the door. How you got placard coming, and curbs need painted on Churchill area, especially on Garfield. Garbage trucks having trouble getting through the way cars are parked.
So may I make a correction?
Yes.
The tripods that's at the wastewater plant for our closed confinement stuff, it has been recertified and useful for our condition, certified working condition.
Okay.
It may look a little beat up, but it's certified working condition.
But it's not certified to the fire
No,
department?
he needs it done.
Yeah, okay.
But mine works perfect, it's been certified, I can do that with no problem.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have.
Water and sewage, Mr. Bertel.
Nothing underwater store.
I got something. Water and sewage. John McClellan, one of our employees, stopped me today or yesterday, come down Granby Street,
I forgot about that.
and you take a left, there's that house around the corner, I guess it's pouring out, there's stuff to come out of it.
It'd be Lockhart and Virginia Avenue. Down at the bottom, there's an open store there, and the water is just running out on the street. You watch the load, how it goes.
That's the one I seen the other day. That was coming from somebody's house.
Like you said, it's an open store coming out of people's house.
It was one person's house.
Lockhart and Virginia Avenue,
Coming down the hill, coming down that alley.
Right on the corner.
right on the corner.
Yeah.
It's been addressed a couple of times.
Yes.
And I went and had called the owner and told him to take care of it.
I went down that morning to work. I come home after work, I looked over and I seen that coming out of the garage. I'm not mentioning no names. And it was off the other day. Because I went up again to look at it. So, that was addressed, Mr. Evans, right now. And, thanks. Anything on recreation?
Yeah, been in the park work and, had the guys up there and break all the chips up and start putting it back up in the park. Cleaning myself custom grass the other day, all the grass is cut with the tractor. Tried to clean up a little bit, fire department up sprayed, all the equipment out there. And you said he's bringing that's gonna be up there, so the place is in pretty nice shape right now. But we did cut the grass that wasn't most of the leaves picked up. Besides that,
I'll show you how to think today. Go ahead, explain.
I sent a couple pictures of where the playground equipment is. We have some heavy, we'll just pass these down. You can see the grass in them. It's posted in this one. I think it's a real tricky hazard. Don't know who applied that to the park, but when maybe we can get a hold of one to see if they can patch it or we can patch it.
I don't know if we have that or not, really.
And then,
that's Robert, like Robert Court. We put that on asphalt there.
probably, yes, I don't know if we can, if there's some kind of record, Kim can maybe go back in her record and see what originally did that and see if they can come up and patch.
Yeah.
And then during our last recreation meeting back, we were talking about playground equipment and the fact that the one at Aracoma Park has some issues and some stuff written on it and everything. And Mark has suggested looking at the Alamo playground equipment. So he wrote over there today and put some pictures and sent them to me. Unfortunately, my printer was running out of ink and I could only print off two. But it's like in pristine shape at Alamo. If that playground is going to be closed, I think we should move this equipment to either Western Avenue or Aracoma. And these are just two, this was one huge piece of equipment. And this guy has money bars. Yeah. And then there's also, on my phone, there's a little, there's a horse.
Mark, are you sure nobody plays back there anymore?
I haven't really been looking, but you guys said you closed it, I'm just.
No.
We're going to buy a carnival.
Yes. I know,
I mean, if we're closing it down, I just thought maybe we could, even that one on Western Avenue,
That's
that,
what we want to do, we want to close that one up there?
I thought that was already good.
We took the basketball thing
Yeah.
because of the insurance company.
Okay, we'll try to get it down, let's see what we can do.
I mean, that Western Avenue playground already has anything in it. There's a lot of kids play there. I mean, if we're closing that up on Alamo, I just can't see that.
I didn't, I got back there, and
But I know I asked about the Alamo playgrounds when the MRC was redoing Church Hill, and it was like, no, that was closed down, it's not a good place for kids, because teens were going down there.
Yeah, it wasn't, I mean, it was all kind of broken down.
I've never been back to the playground, but I mean, that equipment is pristine, so.
I mean, since,
Playground pad, you know, we're going to look into, see if we get that.
since Randy owns the
Yeah, it was bad. It's got, I think I gotta get that out and Yeah, I think that, we need to go down some of that. Look and see where the water is coming off the hill, out of the gas. I don't know if it's going on. It's kind of true, it's very difficult.
You guys got recreation, Mr. Riddell, or this equipment?
I'll get a hold of Jimmy tomorrow morning, see what he wants to do with it. Also, gonna do, have to dig that ditch across that road, where that water will go back in the playground again.
You know, we're gonna do the ditch, and we're gonna tie into that little catch basin down there. I hope we don't overflow that little.
There's a beggar store down by the bathroom.
I know. Well, that's close into that, right?
Yeah, it's only like that, that's only like a 3 inch pipe or whatever it is.
Well, I told him this is what we'll do. Like I said, we'll try to catch that coming off the one of the long graded ones or whatever else. And then on a pipe, and then we'll see it. If that thing starts falling over, then we'll have to come up with something different than that. If it's just too much flow. I also told him to go out there and put some more riprap on it coming out. So that will slow the flow down coming down that hill. We'll try everything we can. It's amazing though that it doesn't show real wear down through that yard there where it's up. We didn't see it when we were up there.
No, it's just so much, it just goes across the grass.
Yeah.
That's all. Anyhow, the cemetery, the deadline was the 19th, which was last Friday. I went up to the day, started taking some stuff off. I don't know if I can legally do that or not. But we got some problems out there, because I got my butt chewed up pretty good by a family. We got tombstones buried here, like here, and the bodies are buried here, and here's the road. Tombstone should be up here, because the bodies are buried back here. And there's 5 of them up here. Just like that.
We're gonna move all the tombstones.
I ain't moving nothing because it don't belong to me. It belongs to a family who's got 5 of them right here. It's right across from my father-in-law's, down this way. The one that got a gun on it. You can't miss it.
You know, I don't know what we're gonna do with that. I mean.
Well, the girl's still alive. She puts flyers on them all the time. The people behind here, they own 10 lots, okay? And if they start burying somebody else back here, they're gonna put stones on this guy's mother and dad. Because the stones are in the wrong place.
Well, her and Liz, Tony, if there's possible to come out and test it.
Well, I don't know if they don't believe it or not, I don't know. I don't know who told them to put it there. But it's, I can't, I want you to do these things, I won't get hell again.
Well, I tell you what, we'll just meet up there and see what's
What's wrong with them? Then you take your breakfast tomorrow.
We will meet up there, either on this weekend or whatever else.
Yeah.
Because I've heard of this before, I don't know if this is the same one, but we have the headstones in the wrong place. I don't know what we do about that, I guess we get a hold of the family and just say, okay, we're gonna move these headstones. I mean, I don't know what we do, I'm not a cemetery.
I don't think we should be involved, we won't be breaking one.
Well, I mean, okay, so we have this problem, who's gonna do this?
They got,
I mean, you know,
Who puts the stones there? Do we put the stones
you
there?
know, you ask the cemetery, the people that, people that bury.
Private,
You know, a contractor come in, they pour the floaters, and then where they bought the,
it could be a funeral home, it could be a
The
funeral
stone
home,
there.
put it there, we don't
You
know.
know, it would be nice if we could, I mean, these funeral homes are pretty old, I mean, it'd be nice if we could trace it back somehow. There's no records upstairs, if we could trace it back to a funeral home that did that, and then we say, hey, you know,
It's their
you put these in the wrong place now, you gotta come up here and fix it.
Yeah, I know where the graves are at. If you go past the graves, they got the footstones, the military footstones
Yeah.
on the wrong end. So that's where the tombstones belong, up on his end, towards the road. And they got 10 lots, and the next lot back belongs to my buddy, and he said they start putting people in there.
You need to give the names to Judy on those Because I want to go up there and see it, Jack.
I'll take it.
I gotta see it.
Maybe tomorrow after we get done, I'll take it.
I have regional planning meeting tomorrow evening, so it's gotta be before that. I got a regional planning meetings on Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes, solicitor, I'm glad I came up because they're invited to this. That's how it's, the law,
Okay.
7 o'clock.
Okay.
Anyhow, if anybody wants to come up to the cemetery, I'll take some stuff off. We're willing, anybody wants to come up, I'll probably be up there Saturday morning, and wants to come up and take some old tombstones, the grave stuff off.
Yeah, we'll do some tombstones Saturday.
Yeah, tombstones.
And we're putting in the paper, for the park management. I know we just put it in the paper here, or we're gonna advertise it now in the paper 3 times for park management.
There was somebody who asked me about that position on the Facebook page.
Make sure you tell them,
I told her to come down here and
yeah, make sure you
apply.
tell them this, a piece of cake position.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brazil. Pat, Mark, Mr. Harry, anything on health and pension?
No.
Pat, anything on senior citizen? And I know you're involved with the PHA now, Pat. Anything going on?
Actually, I did get in my first meeting. I had gone, last meeting. They have things going on that is basically, it's even though it's not really, nothing like it for us here. So I didn't know if he had, any projects that, we would like to contact them about, or that they handle. I know they be talking more of the growth and things that I do, but I was just up there and was like, oh, wow. So it was interesting though, so, yeah. So I didn't know what you normally do. I told my first, guys, this is my first meeting, they're with me, I'm sorry. I don't know what you normally do, how you present things to people.
Like you say, what you said is right, you got a lot of big projects going on.
I've never been involved with this.
But I appreciate you wanting that. Good, you can act on it, develop.
Yeah, actually,
On the 15th,
we had a meeting on the 15th, and myself, Pat, and Gator, and we just started talking about the leaseback property, some of Dr. Johnson's property, the pharmacy, which I understand is being turned into 2 condos. Is that correct? Anyway, so I do want to start a schedule, another meeting with the 3 of us, that we have some stuff that I've worked on to make better for us. And so, I want to just get us out.
Yeah. What's the purpose? What's the purpose of the executive session?
Mr. Brazil,
I'd like to go to executive session for negotiations.
All right. So March is pretty much done. April, you guys are good, meeting on the 13th. You want to go on, I think, Monday the 5th or Tuesday the 6th? Is that Sunday? Yeah. Good for me. Is that good for you? Monday or Tuesday good for you guys?
Yeah.
Which one?
Monday would be better than Tuesday.
Monday's better?
Yes.
5:30?
I'd
Yeah.
like development of the 5:30 on April 3rd.
Correct. And then I also, can you if I wanted to be the administrator on the municipal page again. And so I just wanted to ask everybody here if they have a problem with that. I was on it before and was removed. Before I would accept it, I just want to make sure that's okay with everybody.
Doesn't she does that, right?
Yeah,
Yes, she's doing that?
she sent me a thing that asked me if I wanted to be the administrator on the municipal page. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of it. Apparently you weren't, so.
I'm not, yeah.
I haven't
Well,
responded.
let me talk to her. I think, I don't
2 weeks
understand.
ago, and,
I don't understand why that happened, why she doesn't want to do that.
I
But
don't.
if you want to put on your page now, though, I've had something to tell you, probably not.
The backside of the cliff, do we know how long that's going to be?
I don't know.
4
I
weeks.
didn't even know it was.
I didn't know,
closed.
I didn't either.
Somebody
4
posted it on the.
4 weeks.
4 weeks?
4 weeks.
Okay.
I didn't know they were coming in there.
Hey, Mayor,
I'll second.
that Easter egg hunt, the first thing I seen on Facebook, they said you have to register your children. Is that still gonna be the same way, even though it's gonna be in the park?
If it was up to KC Hall, and now since it's back at the park, I don't think they're, going to do that. I'll double check.
Okay.
And,
Do you know what time that starts, the April 4th?
11 o'clock, I think.
10 o'clock. Yeah. I got the 4th.
Was it the 4th? Mayor, was that the 4th?
Not long ago.
I'll let you know, they, I'm not.
This Saturday or Sunday?
Is this Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday,
Okay.
April 3rd.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, I got a motion to go into executive session. Do I have a second? Vote. And this is on what?
Once negotiations, once personnel.
I didn't check, right?
Personnel.
Personnel, executive session for personnel. Vote.
Well, that was Pat.
We want to.
Yeah, and then Mark.
She wanted to go into executive session for personnel.
I don't care. She doesn't put hand and vote.
I think we already did, we're waiting for a roll call.
Cranwick.
Yes.
Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Herrick.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Patel. Okay.
Second, your,
Mark.
start finger.
Hey, you got anything you want to?